In communication, clarity cuts through the noise. We are living in an information crisis. We are living in a thinking crisis. We have more access to facts, opinions, analyses, and commentary and nonsense than at any point in human history. And yet, confusion continues to arise. Trust erodes, and public discourse feels increasingly unhinged. That contradiction is our starting point. The problem is not just volume. It's not access. It's not even misinformation, at least not primarily. The problem is that clarity has lost the cultural arms race to confidence. Modern communication rewards speed, certainty, and emotional charge. Algorithms don't amplify nuance. They amplify reaction. They don't care whether something is accurate. They care whether it keeps you enraged. As a result, the loudest voices are often the least careful, and the most confident speakers are frequently the least constrained by reality. Bertrand Russell, a long time ago, warned us, long before social media existed. He noted that foolish people tend to be sure, while thoughtful people are full of doubt. None of this is new. What's new is the scale and speed at which these dynamics now operate. This brings us to a critical distinction that leadership communication must reclaim: the difference between clarity and certainty. Certainty is psychological. Clarity is structural. Let's see if I can defend that. Certainty says, I'm right. Clarity says, here's what we know, here's what we don't know, and here's how confident we should be. Certainty feels really good. It reduces anxiety. It creates a sense of belonging. It signals status. That's why it spreads so well. Clarity, by contrast, is often uncomfortable. It requires admitting uncertainty, holding competing ideas in tension, and resisting the urge to oversimplify. And yet, only clarity actually helps people orient themselves to reality. One of the great ironies of modern discourse is that smart people often communicate worse than less thoughtful ones. Not because they know less, but because they know more. They see nuance, they see edge cases, they see trade-offs, so they hedge and qualify and over-explain. Meanwhile, someone else steps in, strips the issue down to a slogan, delivers it with confidence, and wins the room or the election. The solution is not to dumb things down. It's to structure thought before speaking. Clarity is not about having fewer ideas. It's about organizing them so that others can follow the logic without getting lost. Leadership communication is the discipline of making complex things understandable without making them false. This is where communication can become a moral issue, not just a technical one. When someone communicates in a way that discourages questions, mocks doubt, or frames disagreement as a character flaw, they're not trying to clarify reality. They're trying to control interpretation. You see, this is constantly in political rhetoric, media narratives, social commentary. Issues are framed as binary when they're not. Opponents are caricatured. Emotional urgency replaces proportionality. And anyone who pauses to ask a question is accused of bad faith. That's not leadership communication. It's manipulation. Clarity invites inquiry, while propaganda shuts it down. A clear communicator does several things consistently, even under pressure. First, they separate facts from interpretation. They make it explicit when they are describing what happened versus what they think it means. Second, they name uncertainty without panicking. They don't pretend to know more than they do, and they don't collapse uncertainty into paralysis. Third, they resist false binaries. Acknowledge that most real problems live in the uncomfortable middle. And fourth, they moderate confidence to match evidence. Strong evidence earns strong claims. Weak evidence should earn humility. This kind of communication doesn't always go viral, but it builds something far more durable: trust. Charisma, by contrast, is often mistaken for leadership because it creates immediate emotional resonance. Charismatic speakers are engaging, memorable, persuasive, but persuasion without clarity is a short-term win with real long-term costs. Charisma can move people quickly. Sometimes we need that. But clarity keeps them oriented over time, which is even more important. When the two conflict, clarity must win. For leaders, this has practical implications. If your communication consistently leaves people more reactive, more polarized, or more confused, it doesn't matter how confident or articulate it sounds. It's not working. If your communication reduces confusion, sharpens priorities, and helps people think more clearly about complex issues, then even quiet, restrained delivery becomes powerful. Leadership communication is not about winning arguments. It's about orienting people to reality so that better decisions become possible. Now, there's also a personal discipline embedded here. Clear thinking requires slowing down your inputs, filtering aggressively, resisting emotional manipulation, and tolerating uncertainty without rushing to closure. This is hard work in a system designed to keep you reactive. But if you really want to lead yourself, your team, and an entire organization, you cannot afford to outsource your thinking to headlines, feeds, or loud certainty. Attention is your most valuable asset, and clarity is how you protect it. So in a noisy world, clarity is not just about communication skills. It's an act of leadership. It means choosing accuracy over applause, orientation over persuasion, and understanding over performance. When clarity becomes the standard, something important happens. Noise loses its leverage. Outrage stops working. And confidence without substance gets exposed. That kind of leadership isn't flashy, but it's the kind that lasts.